Hello, welcome to Daddy Kirby's farm. Last night we had a storm, a major storm. I don't know how many inches of rain it was, but it came down in buckets. There was all kinds of wind and activity. So I'm going to do a quick walk around and show you some of the things that we had to put up with and some of the damage. First of all, in the garden, it appears that my little greenhouse stood up pretty well. It got wet, but there's no panels missing, and it didn't blow over, so that's a good thing. You can see Luke's garden, his trellis fell over even though I had it tied up to that stake over there. Looks like we lost a couple of the beans because they were on the trellis and they just got pulled out, and might be able to stand that up and put those right back in the ground, but that's a little damage there. All the trees I had on the outside, I moved them out of the garden, and they seem to be fine. Onions were blown over again, but they're okay. So the garden did okay. I lost a tall sunflower over here and a basket of balls off the pool deck. Not damaged, just funny. The chickens are all okay. Their coops got full of water, but they're high enough. The inside coops are high enough that they didn't get wet, so they stayed dry on the inside. The ducks were loving it, I'm sure. And my swale filled up. You can see all my bags of leaves that I haven't done anything with yet. Some tree damage up here. This is one of my native persimmons, so I'm gonna have to thin that tree out. Probably the most significant thing was that I lost an entire tree. This tree is where we had our swing hanging. It's a good thing we weren't sitting in it, because it broke off right at the base. Anybody need some mesquite for their barbecue? Because I'm gonna have plenty of it. Seems that the chickens are doing okay. You can still see the water running as it's coming out of that swale, that top swale, and running down here. Last night, one thing that we hadn't ever seen, at least not this significant amount, was this coop here, or this pen here that we use for temporary structure for the chickens, was a flood. So we had to take all of those chickens out of here, and we moved them onto the back porch. So our back porch is going to be a mess, but there's all kinds of chickens and a couple of ducks up here. There's some in the brooders that were fine. You can see my nectarines that I put out that weren't quite hard enough from picking the nectarines. I put them up there to soften up a little bit. So let's see. The chicken tractors out here. Last night we moved one of them. Came out in the driving rain to move the chicken tractor that has the ducks in it. The red one here and the triangle, the other triangle one, they're on higher ground, so they were fine. It wasn't too bad. There was no standing water in those. But this tractor here was down here, just a couple feet, and this was underwater. And then we moved them up here so they could be out of the water. Although I don't think the ducks minded that much. So you can see my second swale right here did fill up. The sunflowers took a beating. They're all laying down. But this swale definitely got full. It was interesting, every time the lightning struck last night, or the lightning lit the sky up, I could see the water patterns on the property. And it's pretty much the pattern that I've observed otherwise, but because it was such a major rain event, I got to see every pattern, everywhere the water was running. So, I mean, it's just, you know, you use those moments as an opportunity to observe so that you can better plan in the future. I think overall, the sculpting of the land that I've done worked pretty well. I know that I have to do some more, especially up in the middle part of the property. This is all the lower part, but you can see it's really full. This swale right here, this doesn't really hold too much, but then it spills over into the lower part. Eventually that's going to be a little dam right there that's going to hold some water, but let me see if there's any damage in the orchard. You can see the swale there. The trees seem fine. I don't see any damage right now. Looks like all the peaches and nectarines and pears. The pears didn't fall off the tree, they're still there. That's good. Lots of standing water here. As part of the swale design I haven't finished is getting this part of the swale dug out and this part through here. So that's it's a little uneven. It's a little bit higher on that end of the orchard than it is on this end. Well, I'm pleased to see that my trees are still standing. Lots of water in the swale. Of course, it's never going to be any fuller than that because it spills over right here. But I've never, since I've done this little bit of structure right here where the land was built up, or the soil was built up, I've never seen it quite this full. And we have this other small catchment. I guess it's kind of a swale. It's a swale with a poor catchment area, but it didn't matter last night. Everything caught water. So there's water under this mulch right here. Let me see. That's my lemon tree that I planted not too long ago. It seemed to hold up all right. Still standing, still has the little lemons on it. Now that we did have a problem, we had to come out and rescue the tortoises. These are our two tortoise enclosures. We have a larger tortoise and a slightly smaller tortoise. Both of them are the sulcatas. The big boy that's in this box here, he was fine because his box was always out of the water. But as the water came through here and filled this up, we have a temporary enclosure made out of a dog house. It's got a heater on it. Well, this was just full, and when we came out, it was around midnight, a little after midnight, and his little head was just sticking out of the water. So we picked him up and carried him inside. So we had to do a little turtle rescue there. And we did lose some branches off of some of these trees up here. They just fell out of these trees and they're laying on the propane tank. And over here, my big tree that I repaired a couple years ago, or whenever it was, where I put the wire structure in here to pull this back together. You can see it had split at one point, but I pulled it back together with those wires. It stayed together. So I guess if it's gonna get any test, that was a pretty good test. And back further on the property, poor tractor, that tarp was never gonna stand a chance, so the tractor sat out in the rain. Another little limb down here, not too significant. Lots of mesquite. You can see some soil erosion. When the water flows through here, this pathway, this is where we drive the tractor and the golf cart through to get to the back of the property. Over time, we've had a lot of erosion right there. I tried to sculpt the land a little bit. You can see some of that. The water comes from this side of the property and flows through here, but it also comes down toward the house this direction. So you can't see much, but right in front of this I bermed up so the water would come up here and then just continue running through the middle of the field. And it looks like there's some more tree damage. Another big mesquite. The mesquite got hit hard last night. You can see. I was actually considering taking that branch out anyway, so probably did me a favor. You can see how this water, you can see how the grasses are laid down here. The water comes through here really hard and exits over here. It's still flowing. You can see the water still flowing that direction. Let me go take a peek at the beehives. That would be really bad if they got knocked over. Looks like the tree house is still up in the tree, so that's good. Coming over the hill. And from a distance, it looks like the beehives are fine. We got 6 hives. You can see 1, 2, 3, and behind this little brush pile here is 3 more. Let's go see. I can't see the last 2. All right, the number 5 is up. All 6 hives appear to be there, standing. That's good. All right, Golden Sun beekeeper will be happy to hear that his lives are okay. His hives lives. Let's just do a little walk over here. This part here, we don't get a whole lot of flowing water through this part. The water flows more from over on this side, on the other side of these trees, that direction. So this corner up here tends to stay out of the water. Taking a little walk through the trails back here. I don't take you guys to this part of the property very often because it's just nature. I don't, all I do is cut the pathways, and I don't do a lot back here except for the beekeeping. So there's not a lot of reason to walk back here most of the time. But it is nice. Now you can see the house up here. So a lot of the water comes through this part of the property. It just cuts that direction. And I see some standing water. Here, let me show you where the main input of water is. It's still flowing. It's like a little river here. This is the main input of water right here. This is where we get a big flow of water coming through. This is the neighbor's. Our fence line is right there. The neighbor's property. He's got a big hay field. He's got a big hay field and a little bit of woods right here. Oh, and in the woods there's a high part, and back this direction is a massive catchment area, and it all flows down and hits that high part and then comes flowing through our property and cuts right across the middle. And eventually I'd like to dig a pond back here, because every time it rains big it will fill up, but that takes equipment that I don't have right now, so we'll wait for that. But this was probably the biggest this was probably the biggest rain event, definitely one of the biggest. There's some bubbles there. We were just standing right over there, and I turned the camera off and I walked around here, and now we're up here by the shed, sort of where we collect our resources. Someday this is going to get cleaned up, I promise. But we lost another big chunk of mesquite. That was a big tree right here. So this one was damaged a couple years ago and we cut it off. Now that one's damaged and that's going to have to be cut off. So this tree right here, it's just going to have one little limb. So we're back up to where we started, with lots of water, lots of trees laying around. I'm going to be busy with the chainsaw. But I think overall we did okay. It could have been a lot worse. Hey Alex, how'd you do last night? Did you get wet? Did you get wet? Yeah, we had to let the cats, because of hawks and owls and coyotes, we put the cats in an enclosed area under the tree house. You've probably seen the tree house. And we had to go out last night, open the door, and carry the cats. You see, you can sort of see the treehouse through here. But we had to open the door and put the cats on the porch, not the back porch with the chickens, but on the front porch, just so they can stay out of the wind and the rain. So that's it. That's all the damage. That's what we got. For those of you who saw the post on Facebook at midnight last night that we were sitting in the dark with no power and the rain was coming down in buckets, thank you for encouraging me and also sharing your prayers with me. So that's it. That's the storm damage from last night. I'll talk to you soon.